when I was a kid, it was always very fun for me to tell friends of mine or tell my siblings something, but then have my fingers crossed behind my back. So really, the story that I told myself was it was okay for me to lie as long as I had my fingers crossed. It really didn't mean anything. Question. Would I have lied, let's say somebody asked me to put my hand on the Bible, would I have still told that lie? Would I still have said I was going to do something when I had no intention of doing it? Would I have still told a story that had no truth in it at all if somebody asked me to put my hand on the Bible instead of crossing my fingers? Absolutely not. As we continue our series, Satanic Christianity, we're going to look at keeping our word, because the Pharisees back in the New Testament, back in Matthew and the Gospels, they believed what I just said. They believed that some oaths were not as binding as others. You know, you would think a group of guys who knew the law better than anybody, who memorized scripture, who were always in church, who really seemed to know about God and His law, you would think that they would know that if you say you're going to do something, or if you tell a story, that it better be true no matter if you cross your fingers, raise your hand, or put your hand on the Bible. But you see, they believed that keeping your word was important only in certain ways, only at certain places. Like, for example, have you ever heard the saying, don't lie in church? Why is it okay to lie anywhere else? Or you're lying on God's property. If you are a Christian, you are God's property, so we shouldn't be lying at all. But that's what religion does. That's what rule following does. It blinds us to what Jesus actually says. You know, in this series we've talked about, in the first week we talked about how Satanic Christianity creates heavy burdens on people that are impossible to carry. Rules that are added to Scripture. Christians shouldn't listen to this. Christians shouldn't watch that. Now, I'm not saying there's things out there that would probably not help your walk with Jesus in music and on Netflix. Absolutely. But your holiness is not based on what you listen to or what you watch. It's based on who you are. It's based on how closely you are walking with Jesus. It's based on how much you desire to walk with Jesus, because you can listen to Christian music and still live like hell. You can watch all the Christian movies and still not live for Jesus. God hates that. This week we're going to talk about Christians and keeping our word. Let's read Matthew 23, 16 through 22. This is Jesus talking. He's wearing them out. He says, "Woe to you, blind guides, who say, whoever takes an oath by the temple, it means nothing. But who takes an oath by the gold of the temple is bound by his oath. Blind fools! For which is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? Also, whoever takes an oath by the altar, it means nothing, but whoever takes an oath by the gift that is on it is bound by his oath. Blind people! For which is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Therefore, the one who takes an oath by the altar takes an oath by it and everything on it. The one who takes an oath by the temple takes an oath by it and by him who dwells in it. And the one who takes an oath by heaven takes an oath by God's throne, by him who sits on it." So what do those 7 verses mean? Basically, it means this, and that's the point of today's message. Satanic Christianity looks for technicalities to go back on your word. That's what those 7 verses I just read meant. Satanic Christianity, not only does it create heavy burdens that's impossible for you to follow, that sucks the joy, sucks the fun, sucks the happiness out of following Jesus. Not only does it just do everything for show, but it also looks for technicalities to go back on your word. The Pharisees thought that if you made an oath by placing your hand on the Bible, that's an oath you keep. But if you shake someone's hand, that's a promise you don't have to keep. Sort of ridiculous, right? So why does this matter? This is one of the reasons Christianity is not taken seriously anymore. You have a bunch of Christians who will keep their word on technicalities, on conditions. Yeah, I said I was going to do that, but I didn't realize I had this. Oh yeah, I know I said that, but I was just mad. Yeah, that really didn't happen. I was just sort of mad at the person. How do I do better about keeping my word? Well, Jesus actually has a cure for that. He actually has a pretty good thing to follow if you are a Christian and maybe you're not keeping your word like you should with your friends, with your teachers, with your parents, or with whoever. This is Jesus talking. He says, just say a simple yes, I will, or no, I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one. That's Matthew 5:37. So it's pretty cut and dry. And following Jesus is pretty cut and dry. We make it so complicated with our rules. We make it so complicated with what we think we know about Jesus. One thing I've learned about following Jesus, and the one thing I've learned about Jesus in the 20-something years I've been a Christian, is I don't know as much as I think I do. And he keeps surprising me. So this is what he says. If you want to do better about keeping your word as a Christian, if you want to be taken